The Premier League is coming to its decisive phases, and I say phases because, of course, winning the Premier League is the ultimate idea, but also playing for top four place to get into the Champions League and avoiding relegation. All of these things matter greatly to the people involved. And as always, it's a pleasure to welcome John Giles and Liam Brady to talk about the weekend's games. Liam, I'll begin by asking you about a disappointing result for Arsenal. They went 2-0 up very quickly against West Ham, and for the second week in a row, they blew a 2-0 lead. It's a shame, really. They missed a penalty as well that could have won them the game. Is this the pressure that could have been expected, and are they yielding to it?
Well, funny enough, Eamon, it didn't look like to me like it was the pressure that's on them to win. They were actually complacent. They were very unprofessional, Arsenal, yesterday. I'll be interested to know what John thinks, but at 2-0 up, they took their foot off the accelerator, and started just, keeping the ball for the sake of it. They got complacent. In fact, West Ham got back in the game. Partey was very, very lackadaisical on the ball. And Declan Rice took it off him, and Gabriel, who I know is not John's favourite, is not mine either. He pulls the West Ham player down in the box, and West Ham get a goal from nowhere, really. A goal that Arsenal gifted them, if you know what I mean.
Yes, indeed.
And then the second half, defending, Gabriel's cleared the ball. They all come running out. Ball hasn't gone very far. It's only gone maybe 20 yards outside the box, and West Ham just lob it back in, and the Arsenal players are all running out. What for? I don't know. Yeah. And that was the equaliser. And they got a penalty before that, and I didn't understand what was going on in the penalty. Jesus picked the ball up, and he looked for all intent and purposes that he was going to take it.
Yeah.
He held the ball for ages while VAR examined the penalty. It was a bit unlucky on Antonio because I think it was it wasn't deliberate, but they're given now once your arm is sticking out. And then just before the penalty to be taken, Jesus gives the ball to Saka. And I don't know what was going on. It was almost look, I was going to take it, but you can take it now. And he went and missed it. He missed it like Salah's penalty last week against Arsenal.
Yeah.
He kicked it wide of the post. And that was a golden opportunity to restore a 2-goal lead. Yeah. I was very annoyed yesterday, Eamon. They were lackadaisical. They were unprofessional. I'll be interested in what John thinks.
Yeah, John, lackadaisical, unprofessional, and on the penalty, it seems, on the face of what Liam's saying, indecisive.
Well, yeah, I think, they've got to learn that in situations, you get all sorts of different situations. You go 2 up, you're going early on. And then there's a way of getting a grip of the game, especially when the first goal goes in.
Yeah.
And I'd have to say that, Xhaka should be the main man. Now, I know I'll keep going on about him and Gabriel, but I can't help it. When the signs are there, especially of a goal going in, we've got to get a grip of the game now.
Yes.
That's what the midfield players, the great midfield players, or midfield players in general, should be doing. This is a sign, and it's a big sign when you lose a goal.
Yeah.
To say, now we've got to get a grip of the game. And that Xhaka is the man. He's the experienced man in midfield.
He is, and he's a Swiss international. He's been around all the big tournaments.
He should be doing that, Emmy.
Yes.
But he's not. He won't do it.
Right.
He won't do it. And then you get to Gabriel as well. Gabriel gave us a stupid penalty away.
Yeah.
If you're going to win the league and win trophies, you can't. First of all, you got to have somebody on the pitch that knows straight away we've got to make a great start.
Yes.
We're 2-0. Now we've got to hold on to that.
Yes.
And the sign is there. And then when you do give a goal away, now we really got to get a grip of this game. Right, I don't think Arsenal, they've got a very young team and terrific players in it. They don't have a general like that in the middle of the field. And Xhaka should be doing that particular work. And again, the penalties, you can't be giving penalties away. Obviously, it leads to disaster. And that's what happened in the end. But that's what I feel sorry for the manager in many ways. There's a lot of good young players there, Eamon. But they need that guidance, they need that experience for somebody to do it and read the game as it's gone. You know, you just have to read the game. 2-0 up, brilliant. We hang on to it now. We don't give the ball away. We don't do anything silly. And go on and win the game 2-0. But especially when a goal goes in, okay, we've got it now. I've got to get a grip of the game now.
Yes, Liam, it makes sense. And you and John have both played as midfield players in championship winning teams. You at Juventus, John with Leeds. And there are games, they call it game management now. It is game management too. If you're 2-0 up, you don't play the same as you know, other score lines. And you do have the opportunity to take control of a game. And that means maximum concentration and particularly maximum possession. And Xhaka just isn't capable of that, is he, Liam?
No, there's a sloppiness about his game. There was a sloppiness about Odegaard's game as well, and certainly Partey's. Partey was substituted. Jorginho came on for him in the second half, but he was after West Ham scored their first goal, he was getting caught on the ball an awful lot. You know, he was lackadaisical, as I say, and John's right. They didn't get a grip of it in midfield. And maybe that's going to cost him in the end, you know. Yep. You're talking about me being, you know, in a championship winning team, but I was in and amongst fellas who'd won championships before, Eamon, you know, and they weren't scared of the situation. They knew what to do at any particular time, you know.
Yes.
I was young and I was 24. I was new to the Italian football, but they knew exactly what needed to be done. Yes. The Arsenal team in the last couple of weeks have shown, and we feared that it might come about, you know, when it came to the crunch end of the league, that frailties might surface, and it has, and that's John's right. They didn't get a grip of the game, and then when West Ham equalised, Arsenal didn't. West Ham just got numbers behind the ball, and Arsenal really couldn't break them down. It was that really was 2 points thrown away. Last week, I think, it might have been a point gain because Liverpool played very well in the second half, and it was Anfield and so forth. But really, yesterday, they threw 2 points away.
Yeah, John, just as that's happening to Arsenal, Manchester City, it seems to me, in the last 3 or 4 matches I've watched, have stepped it up, and they've stepped it up big time. Not just Haaland, who's amazing, but Jack Grealish, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva. They're playing really well, and Haaland is just a joy to watch, really. And he's some operator in the box, isn't he?
Oh yeah, well, he scored 2 again, as we know, at the weekend, Eamon. I thought City were very, very good in the first half, Eamon. Yes. You know, when you're playing a team like Leicester, you have to step up your game in a certain way and really, really get stuck into them, which they did.
Yep.
And got 3 goals ahead. I was disappointed with them in the second half, Eamon.
Right.
You know, they made some changes, but they were playing as if the game was over. They didn't stick to it in a way that they should have done.
They took Haaland off at half-time, obviously to save him for the Champions League game on Wednesday. Yeah,
I can understand that, but the rest of the players didn't do it. No. You know, like Leicester in the second half had a few chances, Eamon.
Yep.
You know, they scored one, they had a few chances. It was as if it was over. And it's never over, as we know, until it's over.
Right.
You know, they got to. You know, I was disappointed with them, and professionally in the first half, I thought they were great. What you've got to do with the teams like Leicester, who are coming in the bottom of the league and all that, you've got to really get stuck into them and force it more than they're going to force it to you, because you know you have the ability to go and beat them and beat them well, which they did. Really, really good. 3 up. But then they took the foot off the accelerator, David. And the second half was professionally very, very poor. I mean, they lost 1 goal, and they could have lost another 1 or 2, because it's never over till it's over. And Leicester were back in the game. So very good, 100% in the first half. I'd give them 100% in the first half. I'd give them 20% in the second half. But they got away with it in the end.
Right, Liam, they're 4 points clear of Manchester City. City have a game in hand, and they also have to play Arsenal in Manchester at the Etihad. So it's looking very tough now for Arsenal they're by no means out of it, but they really need to find some results and get something in Manchester, don't they?
Yeah, they need to go to Manchester and get it either a draw or a win, Eamon.
Yeah.
And that would put it back in their hands, well and truly. I think City have the easier run in, looking at the games. Arsenal have got some harder games. I think City have got maybe Man United and Brighton look to be the toughest games. But first things first, Arsenal have got Southampton on Friday night. I watched Southampton. Palace beat them 2-0. Southampton they've got one draw in the last 5 games. That's all they've got. And Arsenal really, if they, as John says, like City did to Leicester in the first half, if Arsenal go about their business against Southampton like that, they should get 3 points going up to Manchester the following Wednesday, and it'll be all on that match.
Right.
Now you have to say City are a better outfit than Manchester than Arsenal. They've got better players. They've got world class players. They've got Haaland, De Bruyne, as you said, Jack Grealish having a very good season, Bernardo Silva. So City have the more talented team or more talented squad. But it's on the night, 90 minutes. And if Arsenal play to the very best, they could get something, Eamon. But I think the league title is going to hinge on that result.
Right. Now, one of the biggest mysteries in football, John, is how Chelsea could spend £600 million since this new American owner came in, Ted Bowley, and they can't win a game, and they lost to Brighton. I watched the match. I thought Brighton were outstanding, John, and that young fella, Evan Ferguson, the Irish, he's only 18. He got injured before half-time, about 10 minutes before half-time, or 5 minutes before half-time, but he did hit the crossbar. He had a really good header, and he looks a really good player. What's the mystery of Chelsea, John? I can't figure it out, except to say, in Brighton's case, they are a bloody good team, John.
Yeah. No, they've done great, but as far as I don't think it's a mystery with Chelsea at all, Eamon.
Right.
It's very simple. Right?
Yeah.
You've got a guy who's coming in from America with loads and loads of money, and he's putting it into the team. He had Potter, who wasn't the manager, was the coach.
Yes.
So this guy took over.
Yeah.
Now he might be a great businessman, Eamon.
Yeah.
But when it comes to football is a very complicated game, and it takes a lot of intelligence, knowledge, and football intelligence. I'm talking about football intelligence now. It's a lot of the great managers, a lot of the great players that I've known were not very good when it came to money situations and business situations. But when it came to football is supposed to be a simple game. Football is not a simple game. Yep. Football is a very complicated game.
Yes.
And it needs a great coach to run the players and get the players in that they want. I've always said it, Eamon, all managers have a vision of what they want their team to do and what players they want on the pitch. And if you don't fulfill the vision, or if you don't get the players in that you want, your vision is no good.
Yep.
Like Potter has gone into this situation. This fella's an American guy. He's a lot of money. There's no doubt he's got those players in. Potter didn't get those players in. Now, he might be a great businessman, Eamon, but when it comes to football, I'd say he knows nothing.
No, his television isn't working. It's full of static.
Well, he's not. I mean, it's a very complicated game.
I know
you need
it
people
is.
who were involved in the game, who have good knowledge of the game, get the players in they want to get the players playing and they want to play. This fella spent $600 million or something on players.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the manager. I mean, they sacked Potter, but Potter didn't have a chance of doing anything. He didn't get the players in, but he pays the price. That's because this guy has the money and he's the boss. So it's a very, very simple reason why Chelsea are not doing what they should be doing. That this fella's a total clown when it comes to football, and what he needs to do is get a good manager in who knows the game and let him do the job that he's employed to do.
Right.
And Chelsea are now, they're a laughingstock in football now, Eamon.
They are a laughingstock, and they're actually in the bottom half of the table, Liam. And I looked at the game, and I thought I was hugely impressed by Brighton, and that's where they're your local team. I just want to ask anybody who knows, who's Chalobah, who's Fofana, who's Badi Shield? these are all Chelsea starters on Saturday. Raheem Sterling hasn't kicked the ball for a couple of years. Pulisic. It is a shambles, Liam. It's an expensive shambles. Don't want to take away, though, from Brighton's performance. They were very, very good.
Yeah, first of all, Chelsea, as John said, the Baldy, the American businessman who owns Chelsea, has decided that he was going to buy all the players that seemed to be on the market that anybody else was interested in. Yes. He beat Arsenal to the signing of the young Ukrainian Mudryk, for example.
Yes.
He got Fernandes in, the Argentinian midfield player that played so well in the World Cup. Paid over 130 million, I think, for him.
Yeah.
It was just like, get as many in as we possibly can, and then say to Graham Potter, here you go, here's an amazingly talented squad. You organise it and you start winning with it. But it doesn't work that way, does it? You know, all these guys have got egos. If you leave one out, and that's where the manager has to be the influential figure when it comes to building a team.
And he has to be seen to be the influential player by the dressing room, doesn't he, Liam?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he has to be the man with the authority. But,
yes.
It didn't seem that way, and I don't really understand, how Frank Lampard got the position now after his performance at Everton. It was a great opportunity for Frank to come back in and turn things around, but he seems to be chopping and changing the side as well.
Yeah.
I think he had Aubameyang, brought him on last week. I thought he had gone from the scene, Yeah. So it's a real mess, and they're not kicking the ball. Fernandes, over all the money he costs, not kicking the ball. Raheem Sterling, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I don't think they've got a player who's got double figures in goals,
No, I don't think they have. John, just a final point about Brighton. They had 28 shots on goal. They scored a couple of really outstanding goals, one in particular, and Ciccio, the winning goal, as it turned out. And they were 1-0 down. Chelsea got a good start. They got a goal early on. Brighton, very, very good team, John. And they're, for a small club, they've 2 games in hand of Villa, Tottenham. So they could end up not in the top 4, I don't think, although it's not impossible. They could certainly end up in Europe.
They're amazing, Eamon. I've never seen anything like Brighton.
Yep.
They've sold player after player after player after player, and they're still winning.
Yes.
It's amazing. They had Potter in there who did a great job for them, obviously. And this Roberto De Serbi, isn't he?
Yes.
He's probably doing an even better job. If you look at the amount of players, Eamon, they've sold, I'd say, at least 8 players.
Yes.
In the last 18 months.
Yes.
Now, when that happens, historically in football, you go down.
Yep.
You can't. There's an old saying in football: you can't sell your best players all the time and then keep going. These have done more than that. They're even doing better than they have done in previous seasons, which is amazing. Now, I think that the secret, well, if there is a secret to it, first of all, Potter did a really good job.
Yes.
A top-class job at Brighton. And they've got this new lad in who's probably doing even a better job. So, whatever way they're allowed to do it, the managers, whatever way they're allowed to do it at Brighton is certainly successful, that's for sure.
Yeah, Liam, you know the owner, don't you? He's
the Bloom family, Tony Bloom. Yeah.
Yes, and he has a good model there of how a football club should be run.
Very much so, and obviously the big thing has been his recruitment.
Yes,
he a bit like Manchester City have satellite clubs. He's got a satellite club in Belgium, and I think he gets players from all over the world. He puts them into the club in Belgium, and he sees whether they adapt to European football, how good they are. And, quite a few have come through that route. But they've got 2 of the best midfield players in England at the moment who's performing. Is McAllister, the Argentinian.
Yes.
And Caicedo, I think
he's really good.
He's South American.
Yeah.
And Arsenal wanted to pay a lot of money for him. As John said, they sold Trossard to Arsenal. They haven't missed him. They sold Cucurella to Chelsea, who's been terrible at Chelsea.
Yes.
And you got 50 or 60 million.
Yeah.
Chelsea have kind of gone in there, funny enough, taken a manager and taken some of the players, and Brighton have said cheerio and built on it. It's an amazing story. Their recruitment is the main factor. But it's great to see young Evan Ferguson as well. He's come through the ranks. And he played very well before he had to come off injured after about 36 minutes, Eamon. So he nearly scored. He leads the line very well. And it's a big bonus for Stephen Kenny going forward, or for the Irish team going forward, to have a good centre forward like that young lad.
Yeah, unfortunately it appears. I mean, they're also in the Cup final, is it?
No, they're in the semi.
Semi, against Manchester United
in the semi, which is a rerun of 1983. It was 40 years ago. Brighton were at Wembley, lost in over 2 games. You remember they drew 2-2, and then Man United got the replay and beat them 4-0. So down here in Brighton, everybody's thinking they are going back to Wembley to play Manchester United, but they're playing better than Manchester United. They can beat them on the day, Eamon, and get to the Cup final and be where they are in the league. It's a magical story, because they very, very nearly went out of business, going back 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, and I know you were one of the group of people that helped them stay in business. Now, John, we saw Manchester United play Forest yesterday, and you've argued all along for a while now that whoever is in trouble, one team will go down, and that's not Forest. Now, United beat them 2-0, John. But if I was having a bet on Brighton versus Manchester United as things stand now, I'd back Brighton.
Would you?
I think United are very disappointing, John.
Well,
I keep hearing them being hyped up. They are going to get their Champions League place by the looks of things. But when I look at them, they got... Well, what have they got?
Well, they have Christian Eriksen, Eamon.
Yes.
Now, he was brilliant yesterday.
Yes.
He's going to be the big player coming back fit.
Right.
I mean, this fella's a terrific player.
Yes, he always has been,
Yeah, always has been, and he's been out for a long time. I thought he was brilliant yesterday. I wasn't particularly impressed with Manchester United as a team yesterday. But this fellow was the most influential player on the pitch. And I've just with Sabitzer, McTominay, Casemiro, Fred, Fernandes, none of them can do what this lad Eriksen can do.
Yep.
He's absolutely brilliant, Damon.
Yep.
So he's a big plus coming back into the team. And he was the difference between the two teams yesterday.
Yes.
In a big way, Damon. No, Manchester United, I don't think have been impressive at all. I mean, they're up there, all right, but I don't see them as being really up to the standard of
a million miles. They're a million miles away from it.
Behind them.
Yeah.
But Christian Eriksen, I saw him. Watched him. We all saw them. Watched him. I thought he was brilliant yesterday in a match that United didn't play well. But if he hadn't been there, there'd be nothing.
And when we talk about game management and the things we were talking about, Arsenal don't have. This is one thing Eriksen brings to the table, doesn't he, John?
Yeah, well, that's a huge thing to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Imagine Christian Eriksen playing for Arsenal.
Yep.
That wouldn't have happened the way that happened. Yeah, he'd cop on to 2 up. Goals, in my opinion, goals obviously dictate the game, but they dictate how you play. In other words, like if you're playing in a match that you go 1 down, you have to play in a certain way to get that back. But when you get 2 up, now you have license to play in a different way.
Yes.
You don't take any chances. And the likes of Eriksen, know it at this stage. 2 up, play it here, play it there, play it there. Try and nick another one. Well, you're not giving anything away. And that's what he has. Now, Manchester United won yesterday, won well in the end. I mean, if it hadn't been for Eriksen, they'd just be what they've been in the last few weeks. He's a blessing for them to come back into the team at this stage, in my opinion.
Okay, John, there's 3 things I want to talk to you about Liam and John left. One of them is Unai Emery, who was at Arsenal for a season, Liam. He's at Aston Villa now. They've really improved dramatically since he joined them. I watched them on Saturday. They were the lunchtime match, and they hammered Newcastle United. The aggression, the skill, everything was right. This is a guy who's won 4 Europa Leagues, 3 of them with Sevilla, 1 with Villarreal. He's a good record in Spain. And the Arsenal experience was unfortunate, Liam, but he's back with a bang in the Premier League now.
Yeah, I think that's 7 out of 8 Premier League games he's won. He's always been a really good coach. He was more than a year at Arsenal. He was about 2.5 years. You know,
really? Yeah, I didn't know that.
He got to the Europa League final. They got hammered by Chelsea 4-1, and I think it was in Baku in Azerbaijan or somewhere like that. And he came in. He obviously had to follow Arsene Wenger, which was a difficult task. You know.
Yes.
And I think Emre he's a very tactical coach. He wants his team to play tight and then counter-attack. You know.
Yep.
In some ways, a bit like the Italian style. And I think at Arsenal he found it difficult to play that way after Wenger and with the players he inherited. And he inherited some problems as well, the likes of Ozil. He had to put up with him.
Yep.
The guys buying players, I think they weren't listening to him. They were buying their own players. We got David Luiz in from Chelsea, who was no good at all.
Yep.
Willian and players like that. I don't think Emre was totally in charge, you see, Eamon. You know,
right.
So
yep.
he's come in there at Villa, he's looked at the situation, and he's got them playing in a very, very organised fashion. He's getting the best out of all the players. And, you know, McGinn again yesterday, I thought or on Saturday, was hugely influential. And in Ollie Watkins, they have one, you know, take Haaland out of the equation. Ollie Watkins is the best striker around at the moment.
Yes.
And he's scoring for fun, and he got another 2 goals on Saturday. So a very well organised coach. And they really give Newcastle, it was the worst performance I've seen from Newcastle in the last couple of months. They really gave Newcastle a doing.
Yeah, John, I'd agree with that totally, and I know because we were talking during the match, you would too. It was a big surprise, and it's not a great result for Newcastle because they have a genuine chance of finishing in the top 4, but sadly they didn't help, and they didn't show a lot of fight when they came to it.
No, they had a bad day, Eamon. Villa were good again, as you say, and Liam said. You know, they got Watkins in, now scoring goals. He could get into the international. I think he's having a great season. But I think all this has come back from the Gerrard situation.
Yeah.
I think Watkins, for example, wasn't playing very well. I don't know if he was in the team. I think I think Gerrard fell out with them, Eamon.
Yes.
You know, the teams at one stage there, like, you know, they said they're not playing for him.
Yes.
I thought he was very harsh with them.
Yeah.
When he was there as manager, I mean, he'll get back into the game, and he did a great job.
He was publicly critical of them, which is really it's death, isn't it? When you go to a club,
you can't do that. And,
no.
You know, he was particularly critical of the centre half. I think he was entitled to be critical of the centre half. He wasn't playing very well at the time. Mings.
Yeah,
but
fancies himself.
I don't think he can do it publicly at all, Eamon.
Yeah.
You know, when it stays in the dressing room, and you can give them, you know, as manager, you can give them hell in the dressing room, but you don't go public with it. And I think under this manager, he's very, very good, as you said, and Liam said. But I think he's let them play, or he hasn't been tough on them publicly anyway.
He's been respectful, which is what you should be.
I think they're really, really enjoying that. You know, I think they stopped playing. I think they stopped playing for Gerrard when he was there. That's only my take on it. But they're definitely playing for this guy. That's for sure. And they're playing really well. A lot of good young players, and particularly Watkins. He could easily get into the England team, and he's really, really good.
Liam, Spurs 2, Bournemouth 3. Unbelievable result. Everton 1, Fulham 3. Unbelievable result. There was, and of course, the Brighton beating Chelsea as well. You know, small club, a smaller club, beating a big club. The Spurs Bournemouth thing was, I mean, Conte's assistant has stayed behind. He looked bewildered, and fair play to Bournemouth. they've actually played their way out of trouble, almost out of trouble. They've got 33 points now. They're 5 points clear of 6 points clear of the third bottom team. It's an unbelievable story.
Yeah, Gary O'Neill.
I know him from somewhere, Liam.
Good pro, played for Portsmouth. Although he has an Irish name, he didn't play for us, but he's done a real good job at Bournemouth. Same players, hasn't bought anybody in, just got them playing for one another, and they're getting results. Spurs are they were very, very fortunate to beat Brighton the week before. Remember, we talked about all that. But the club's in a mess. How can you get rid of a manager and then keep his assistant? I don't really understand that. It's the same story, isn't it? You're keeping the guys who are running it their way. So I don't really get it, and I don't think the Tottenham fans get it either. And he actually put on a player yesterday as sub, and he took him off. This is how bad things are going. Conceded a goal in the 95th minute as well. They're not playing as a team, Eamon. I think Conte saw the writing on the wall and organised himself to get out of that situation. And Spurs will be fortunate, I think, to hang on to a Champions League place. I know they're fifth at the moment, but they look like their challenge is failing rather than there's going to be a revival about it since Conte is gone. It looks like it's only going in one direction, and it's not Champions League direction. Actually,
Brighton have 2 games in hand of them and could catch them quite comfortably if nothing else happens. Aston Villa are also nibbling at their bum, as they say. John, just a final question about tonight's Monday night football game. It's Leeds at home to Liverpool. Leeds have sort of crawled their way out of it, but they could do with something tonight. A point even would be useful. But with Liverpool, you never know, do you?
No, nobody knows. You don't know what Leeds certainly at the moment. I mean, and Leeds are well into it. I think they're in the bottom 3.
No, they're fifth.
And they're just out of it.
They're just out of it by 2 points, John.
Yeah,
they've got 29 points. Not for us, 27.
I'd be very worried about Leeds. The last match, I thought they would get out of it.
Yeah.
But the last match they played,
Palace, John.
Was Palace.
Palace. Palace got 5, John. Yeah.
5. Yeah, I got 4 in the second half, Liam. They were just a total shambles. And if Liverpool do their stuff tonight, I'd a few weeks ago, Eamon, I said I thought they'd get out of it.
Yep.
But I wouldn't be so sure now. Really, after the last match last week against Crystal Palace, it was so bad.
Yeah.
It was the worst performance I've seen from the teams at the bottom.
Right, and that John is saying something, because I saw Everton and Fulham, and I saw lots of stuff at the weekend.
Yeah, well, that's their only hope. But fingers crossed for them tonight. I mean, I'd like to see them obviously as an ex-player getting out of it, but I wouldn't be putting any money on it, that's for sure.
Okay, John, thanks very much. I might have a bet on Liverpool. So thanks to John, Giles, as always, and to Liam Brady, 2 of our greatest ever players, 2 of the world's greatest ever players, actually.